Welcome to the Halloween podcast. Good to talk to y'all again. Well, tonight, man, we about to talk about some crazy stuff, some crazy things that happened to us. Might be scary to some people. Let's see. Shoot, man, some crazy things we've seen, some crazy things we went through together. So, I always tell you guys to call in and tell me the truth. I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. Whatever, I ain't gonna hold nothing back, and don't let y'all, see into some crazy stuff we done dealt with. So I ask you first, what you want me to talk about?
Um, let's share our stories about like kids that we've seen.
Okay, all right, I got one. All right, so my history is I used to let me see when I lived in South Carolina, and when I lived in the Middle Georgia area, I used to work at different like shelter homes and stuff. That's when I first got out of school, and some of them I worked at. I can't say the names of them, but they was haunted. And I didn't believe the people when I first started working there. Some of the guys was like, man, like it was for an example, one of the guys he was a groundskeeper, and he said he was there real late at night. I can't tell you the place name, but he said that it used to be a place around I think it was World War II. They used to have kids there, and he said that he was in the house one day and a lady came. She was sitting at the top of the steps. Actually, she was standing at the top of the steps, and he saw her like just float down the steps. And she saw him. He was like, who are you?" She didn't say nothing, and just went through the wall. So everybody thought he was crazy. So I was like, "Dang!" That's when I first started working there. And so then I was like, "Damn, man, I don't know if I want to work here, but shoot, when I started working out, I like working with the kids and stuff, and I was getting good hours, and I just kept working there." So it was like I remember working overnight, and one night I was working, and I was like, man. So we would spend the night or whatever. We was sitting in the hall. So if you can imagine, the kids' rooms would be on each side, and then you remember like if you imagine like a exit sign all the way at the bottom and all the way at the top of the hall, so like the whole hallway would just be red. Those exit signs that red. So we used to just stay in there. We was like spend the night or whatever. Me and another guy, or whoever that was supposed to be the night staff, but I would just stay every night. All right, so we was in there, and I remember like standing at the top of the hall, was sitting in a chair at the top of the hall, and all of a sudden I just saw some kids run across the hall. So at the middle of the night, they always be playing jokes with you and trying to like touch you, scare you at night and stuff. So I done got up, went into each room. Man, y'all stayed asleep, going off and stuff, but nobody was sleep. Nobody was awake. So I'm like, man, I'm tripping. I'm like, they playing sleep. So then I went back and sat down. And in the morning we usually cook breakfast like 6 or 7 o'clock. So then I got up, did breakfast or whatever, straight. So went home, everything was good. I ain't said nothing to nobody. Okay. So I end up working some more weeks, working some more days or whatever. And I would see the same thing. Like, imagine like you got the lights out, you see some like a little kid look out the window. Look out the door at you, and then run across the hall. But you like, damn, I know they sleep. And then I was like, man, I'm tripping. I was like, maybe I'm just tired. But I knew I wasn't tired because I would sleep all day and then just work at night. And we'll sit up and look at TV or whatever while watch the kids, make sure they sleep. So then I remember one time I ain't saying that for a long time about that junk. I ain't telling nobody or whatever. And I was in the kitchen cooking, and one of the guys that worked with me, he was like, "Bruh, Pope, I just saw, man, you ain't gonna believe what I just saw." I already knew what he was talking about, so I started laughing. I was like, "What you saw?" He said, "Man, I could have swore I saw some kids run across the hallway." And I was like, "Man," I said, "Yeah." I said, "I've been seeing that jump, but I ain't say anything because I was like, man, nobody ain't gonna believe me, so I'm just gonna keep that jump to myself." Now I know a lot of y'all were like, "Oh man, you probably was sleepy and stuff like that." If you one of those people, just go on ahead and hang up the little podcast because you know everything. But anyway, so this is just what I experienced. So then he was like, "Man, I know I just saw something." I was like, "Man, I've been seeing that jump for a little while." And I was like, I just ain't saying that because, people don't believe when you say stuff. And then come to find out, what happened is, they said it was like three little boys that had drowned in a pool there. And if you was to go there now and look on the ground, you can still see the outline of the pool. They just covered it up and put grass there. But people that done worked around there, they know who I'm talking about. They know about the place or whatever. But yeah, that junk was crazy, man. And to this day, I'm pretty sure like people still be seeing that stuff. And in that house that I worked in, and then in the main house or whatever. But people don't really talk about it. But the kids always say like when they used to be asleep, they used to. I remember they would get up in the morning and want to fight each other because they'll say, "Man, you was in my room taking the cup off of me," and I was like, "Man, nobody ain't been in your room." But I don't know what was like messing with them. Nothing was scary or nothing like that, but it was just like little kids. It was a mess, man. That junk was a trip. What else you want to know about?
Well, I'll share mine because I got the kind of a similar situation when it come to uh, working in those type of same jobs, just different location. But I remember I had to go work in like the little girls' house. They had like different houses for like little girls, little boys, older boys, and I had to go work at the little girls' house. And I'd always heard the women talk about this story of like, oh, something with a little bitty kid, like a baby, like infant, toddler, like real small kid, that anytime this one girl in the room would be, she'd be psyching out, like having a rough night, that that's when they would always start talking about, oh, something in there, like, how they're saying like catching the Holy Ghost, but it wasn't like the Holy Ghost type of situation.
Yeah.
They were just like, saying that, something was going on with her and they didn't know what it was. So they would just like leave her in the room. But they would say that, no matter how many times they painted the walls or like they washed the walls and all this kind of stuff, they would see like little footprints on there, like going up the wall, like toes pointed up to the ceiling and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, that's crazy, And when I had heard this, I hadn't really been around people who had talked a lot about that kind of stuff, talked about like energies and like, just seeing crazy things. So I'm like, but, I used to watch like all those little shows in college and stuff.
Yeah.
And so when they told me that, I was just like, oh man, for real, for real. And then one night, I was up there working. And, the same girl was having like a rough night. And so I went into the room with her and I was just sitting there with her because she was having a rough night, but I just was like sitting there with her and I saw the footprints on the wall. And like, I didn't say nothing to the girl that I was working with because she was new and I don't know if she'd heard the stories and she was a little bit younger than me, but I saw it and like, it wasn't scary. It wasn't creepy. It was just like, man, that looked like, for real, like it was a footprint, like just like how a baby when they're born they put their foot in an ink pad and then take a picture or put it on a piece of paper for the parent.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like, but it was just really clear, like it was wet, like and it was just one. So and it was so interesting because I was like, I don't know if it was a joke or something like that, but it was for real. And like you couldn't get it to go away because like I even tried to wipe it off and touch it and it wouldn't go away. And so it was just like really strange because it was only in one room and like in that whole building, that was a girl who had like the most difficult time with a lot of stuff with her behavior.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of times, like with places like that, these children shelters or wherever you work at that has something like that, be a lot of stuff going on there, especially, if they real old.
Yeah, and this one was real old. Like,
Yeah.
had been around for like hundreds of years, and you just don't know. Like, you don't know what kind of people lived there before. You don't know what happened. Accidents happen too, but you still, this is a place that's taking care of kids, and sometimes kids, way back in the day before medicine, like get sick,
Yeah.
and they're not gonna survive a cold. But
Yeah.
but yeah, they always used to talk about that kind of stuff, and they used to talk about another situation in a different building, that like the toilets would randomly flush.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And that like they, it never scared anybody. It was never creepy. It was always just like somebody was playing too much.
Yeah.
But like it would only be one stall, like at the end of the hallway, that toilet would always flush.
What was crazy, you say that, but one time I was at work and we heard it flush. And I thought somebody was back there, but they was like, man, that toilet always doing that. And even they had somebody to come in and look at it. It was nothing wrong with it. It was just flush like that, and it was no kids in there because we went back there to look. But like it wasn't creepy or nothing like that. But you try to tell people about that stuff, they always, I think they low key believe it. Like they didn't like experience some creepy stuff, but everybody worried about what somebody gonna say about them, so they be like, that ain't really happening. Yeah, okay, whatever. But yeah,
Yeah, and I think people, especially like if you live in the South, like you got to realize there's like a long history of some real crazy stuff, and so
yeah,
we just a lot of places, especially in the South, the Middle South, you know,
yeah,
South South, that is a lot of stuff that's happened that people don't talk about, haven't talked about, won't talk about, or sometimes they publicize it and it becomes like a tourist attraction. But still, there's a
yeah.
lot of stuff that in the middle and South Georgia areas that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but those shelter homes though, man, they do a good job with those kids though, cause they don't have nowhere to go, and shoot, people become family in there, and that man, I think they do a real good job with that place. The place I worked at, both of them, and I think they really do a good job.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else you got from what you want to know?
Um, let's see. What's your creepiest story? Like, just somebody that you were randomly around, or like somebody that you used to know. Like, did you
All
have
right,
anything crazy with people
yeah,
you used to know or date?
I got one. Okay, so I used to date this girl. We was dating for a long time, like long ass time. But when I first started talking to her, she was cool. Like she didn't act funny, strange, or nothing like that. But as she got older, like she started changing. People change. But like we might have arguments or whatever. And that's cool. You have those in relationships. But I remember like, man, she used to this day, I don't know if I ever seen her sleep before. Like let's just say,
What?
let's say we go to sleep. If I would just move and I turn around, she'll be awake. And I'm like, when the hell did you sleep? Or like, I know somebody on here listening. I know what I'm talking about. Like, you ever been sleep around somebody or like be around somebody and you can almost hear them thinking? Like it be that strong in the air, or like, let's just say if they're around you, every time they're around you, you just tired. You want to drink some coffee or Red Bull or something, and it's just draining. Like I don't know what two people came together to make these folks, but they exist, and I know somebody on here know what I'm talking about. Like no matter what you do, like they come in the room and just drain the energy out the room. But yeah, the girl I was like, man, she. So imagine like you sleep and you open up your eyes, you open up one of your eyes because you already know what you finna see, and she looking at you in your face. I remember one time I was like, man, what the hell you looking at? Go to sleep, bro. Like, and I and I knew then, like, I was like, this bitch got to go. This fruitcake, she gonna be to kill me. Cause I remember I never seen her sleep. I never did. Like, and I mean I know people around me saw that jump. I know my
Well,
mama probably saw it or something. That bitch was crazy.
so what
Like,
you say to people who say, "Oh, she was just a light sleeper"?
no, but to never sleep, like to never sleep and then like be around you and just drain you. Like, I remember thinking one day, I was sitting in the car. I remember thinking one day, man, I haven't slept or been well rested in like 2 years. I couldn't remember the last time I wasn't tired.
Yeah.
And I would go to sleep early, but like wake up tired, go to sleep, uh, wake up tired, then wake up and walk around, go exercise, tired as hell, like always tired.
Yeah.
And I do think like negative energy. Not she wasn't a bad person, so imagine evil people. But I think you can have negative energy and not be evil. But like that negative junk can drain you, can drain people that's like happy. I don't know. It's strange. Like I don't know if they just kicked in one day or what. But like man, I just knew I had to go because that bitch used to stare at me while I was asleep. I thought that junk was crazy, man. That was the craziest thing. That's the craziest thing I ever seen. I was never a guy that had a whole bunch of girlfriends. I would just have a girlfriend for a long time. So relationship for 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, some crazy junk like that. But like I gotta say that was the fruitiest pie I ever dealt with because I didn't understand her, and to this day, so people like that, they don't change. They like, I don't know, they mutate a little bit or something. So I'm pretty sure she's still crazy. Someone still do the same thing. God rest, God bless the soul dude dealing with it now. Cause man, that girl's a handful, bro. But yeah, that I think that's the craziest thing I done dealt with like a relationship because I just ain't understand that junk. She didn't sleep. She would eat and be like do normal people stuff, but she didn't sleep. And when I'm asleep, she looking at me. And I wake up, I'm scared of hell. I'm like, man, this girl finna kill me one day. So I was like, man, you got to go, bro. It was over with. So I started taking applications, and she had to go. She got laid off. Okay, I'm gonna ask you then. What you gonna say?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I think people don't talk enough about how the energy and the vibes that somebody put off can affect you. People say, "Oh, I like your vibe." We vibe well. They use that term really loosely, but I think that people don't talk enough about it. In the relationship aspect of like how somebody really can affect you. Like, oh, they say they a negative Nancy type thing. That's one thing. We all have had those people at work or at school, in our neighborhood that you're just like, man, like she always got something to complain about, or he always got something to complain about, and you just don't want to be around them. That is maybe even somebody in your family is like that.
Right.
But I think that there's a deeper level that is more spiritual, more on the real side that people don't want to talk about. When it comes to relationships and people that you have in your life, and kind of like what we talked about last time, some people aren't supposed to be in your life that long. But and I think we could talk about that, like what is that like to have somebody around you that changes you. And I'm talking like changes you on a like physical level. Like it changes how you look, how you act, how you smell, how you walk, even like changes everything about you for the negative thing. People been have a baby that's, oh, you look so bright, you look so glowy, and so that's a good change. But I think we don't talk about the bad change that we can see, and I bet everybody listening can think of somebody they know that has been like drastically physically changed from a person they've been dating or been around, or maybe you felt that way or had that happen, because I know that happened to me.
Mm-hmm. I know. I'm gonna get to you. That's one thing, and you'll notice me saying on here, like in the black community, because of course you're white. If you want to be called Caucasian, whatever you want to be called,
White.
we'll do white then. You white. So in the black community, if a woman's pregnant, we don't want you touching our stomach. I mean, she don't want you touching her stomach because we're a firm believer in you can transfer. If you're thinking negative about me to my baby, so don't touch my stomach. Because I see a lot of people walk up to folks, oh, your stomach's so cute. You touch a black woman's stomach, she finna fight you. Like, for real.
And I think that's a huge difference too. Like even beyond the belly, I think it's a widely known thing, don't touch a black woman's hair. And I think that's the same for a black man. Like it's a cultural thing. And in the white household, it's not taught that way. There's not anything taught about don't let somebody touch your hair. Don't let somebody touch you in the face. When I was pregnant, like, there was never a conversation growing up that I ever remember people talking about, like, don't let folks touch your belly, or, even, things like you can't eat at everybody's house. Like, we can look at that on a cleanliness level for sure. Some people wash their food in the washing machine, like crazy stuff like that, or let their animals be inside the refrigerator.
Yeah.
But there's a whole other level that I think there's the two different houses between black and white that it's not talked about. Like you just don't eat everybody's food because it ain't always prepared for you for love or, good.
Yeah. That's why, like, a lot of times you'll hear people, both black and white, say that this food was made with love. If you're dealing with somebody, if you're in a relationship and stuff like that, and you think they care about you because you see them saying that they love you or I care about you or whatever. But then when you leave, they be like, oh man, she showed, and they sit there as a family and talk about you. But you just ate their food. When they were preparing your food, they were talking about you too. Like
Mm-hmm.
you finna get all that negative energy. And if you're a person that's listening to this, you don't believe in energy. You ever just had somebody walk in the room and you like, man, everybody in the room put their head down or get like,
Feel heavy.
yeah, yeah, it like a dark thing. But then you get some of those people, they walk in the room, you just want to be around, you want to talk to them, you want to be in their face all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They got that good energy going on. You know, you have to believe in that kind of stuff because you don't believe in it, you're going to fall for anything. So I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever talked to somebody or dealt with somebody, dated anybody that gave off that negative stuff or was just like kooky?
Yeah. I think like, at the time I thought I was alone, but through conversation and being around people and like, just diving into it, I'm not alone. And that, so hopefully like there's a woman listening to this that is going to hear me and maybe resonate with something that I say about how I felt. But I dated somebody that over the course of time, this wasn't immediate. This wasn't like, oh, we dated for a week and then all this, things were affected. But it was over time, being around that person or being around the circle of that person, their energy shifted. It was bad. And, I got consumed into that energy because I felt like it fed off of me, and so, people won't talk about it a lot because, oh, the spiritual aspect of it, right? If you believe in that, then you can't believe in God. But like, how do you not believe in that and also believe in God? Because
Yeah.
like, we see that good and evil was created since the beginning of time if you believe how we believe,
Yeah.
and so, this energy, I don't what you want to call it, an entity, vibes is the language of these days, but it's heavier than that. It's heavier than just a vibe. It was really like just a whole persona of negative that didn't do any good for me at any point that I was around it. Down to, I was just talking earlier about how that junk can change you. It can change you and you don't even notice it. You don't even realize you going through something. You around them and your stomach always hurt. Or every time, we just talked about food. Every
Yeah.
time I would eat, my stomach would hurt to the point where I thought I just needed to take some Beano before I went
Yeah.
to eat, because I said maybe I just have a really sensitive stomach. Maybe I got irritable bowel syndrome or something like that, because my stomach would be in knots all the time, and I just thought it was me. I thought maybe I didn't chew my food enough. Maybe I need to go on a diet, And then I look at over time, like I had a lot of weight gain going on and didn't recognize over time like what I was looking like to other people.
Yeah.
And being able to go back and look at pictures of myself or video of myself, or just throwing it back, memorabilia type stuff. I can see what I looked like and how negatively I had been affected. I didn't know this at the time, but somebody on the outside had seen me, who didn't know me, didn't know my situation, didn't know nothing about me, but just happened to be in the same work environment as me. And she called me like saying I had gray eyes.
Yeah.
People thought, and for people who are listening and don't know me, my eyes are blue. I'm a blue-eyed white girl. Like, they are blue as blue can get. And so that energy that I was around, and even though like I had been getting away from it and been in the situation where I was being like further and further away, like it still had an impact on me, where like my eyes were dark, my gray eyes, like dark circles under my eyes. I was more dull looking. I'm according, as we said, like I'm white, but I was a bright white, and then I became like a dull white, like I was faded all the time.
Yeah.
And my hair wasn't shiny and healthy. Like, your nails get brittle. Like, I just overall was not, like, overall I was like a wilting flower, is what we've kind of said is like, you look at a flower that needs water and it is, it's still a flower. You can tell it's a flower, but it's like droopy. It's like the leaves are just sad. Like everything just is really missing life, and then, what I was able to do is be around someone who was like my sunshine, who was like my water, and, be able to grow my flower back and make me bright. And I know that it worked because once I got away from that energy, and once I got away from all that heaviness, I had a lady at my school. I came in one day. She'd seen me for like over a year, and I came in and she was like, "Man, you look so bright today." And, she was an older black lady. And so she saw like that energy of me shift, and then my body changed, my everything about me changed. But like when I say like something was heavy, it was something that was so heavy that like it weighed me down, not only emotionally, but like on a scale, like getting on a scale to weigh myself.
Yeah.
And I wasn't much bigger than I am now, but the scale said 35 pounds heavier than I am now. And it was like, how is that possible? But putting yourself around negative energy, I think, can have a big influence on you before you even realize like what is going on. And you said, with you mentioned with a person you were dating, somebody had to recognize it. I think that for me too, somebody in my circle had to recognize like there was a huge shift in me from over the course of years to where I had become when I was at this like really low point in my life.
Yeah. And what's crazy about that, sometimes people see that, and you have some people that say they want to stay in their own place, and then you have some people that want to see you do bad, and you think they're in your circle and they should be rooting for you, but they're not. And that junk is kind of sad. Like, so do you have an example? Like, I told you that she would sit on side of me and stare at me, and so I thought that she was creepy. But a situation where it was just something that creeped you out one day.
I mean, I have two kind of situations that like, really creeped me out, like were really affecting me. And it was a direct result of like the person that I was around, one being that junk that I was around, the energy, man, that put me in a real low spot. That put me in a spot of like just being real down all the time. I look back and see that my whole aura was just dark. And I remember sitting in a car one night, like feeling like I couldn't even move.
Yeah.
Feeling like I was just stuck. And it was like something was like sitting on me, like sitting on my chest, sitting on my shoulders, but it was in the back seat and I couldn't get out. It wasn't my seatbelt. And I remember I just kind of sat there like, and it just made me sad. Like it just felt, I could see people going in and out of the grocery store. Like I'm in my car, I'm in my town, ready to go home after work, and I can't move. And then, it was just like heavy where, it creeped me out. But at the time, like, I was living by myself. So I was like, you try not to get too creeped out on your way home, but I remember like just feeling like heavy and kind of creeped out by that. And then I had another incident, and, that one was like me by myself, but another incident that involved that person is came home to my house and like all the lights were off.
Yeah, I remember that. Well, if y'all didn't know, this is my wife talking. But I remember that because I actually was on the phone with you that day. We wasn't, talking, but we was friends at work, and I remember you telling me about this, I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so like, it's a situation where that person had showed up unexpectedly, and I drove up to the house and I was like, man, all the lights off. And, I was somebody who, worked late, lived alone, no secret. So I leave a porch light on, leave a lamp on, I'm coming home at late. So I like to have it just, comfortable to come home. And I set things up a certain way for myself for safety reasons and, whatnot. But I pulled up and like every light on the outside was off. Every light on the inside was off. And I remember just like walking into that house thinking like, man, I got to turn these lights on because like I was mad. But like at the same time, like if I didn't turn those lights on, like I felt that it was going to be something creepy. You know? Like, and later I learned, another cultural difference. Like I didn't know what that meant to have like the lights turned off. I didn't know that was something people did to other people, so.
And that's the thing too. when you told me that the lights was off, I knew what it was, but I knew that, you know, during that time I kind of had feelings for you, but I want you to see also who this person really was, so it wouldn't be no excuses when I wanted to talk to you and be with you. So I wanted you to see who that person was, but I knew that in the black community, when the lights off, anybody on here, when somebody turn them lights off, what that mean? I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to think about it. Okay, you know what that mean? They finna get on your head. Now he never showed that he would get on her head, but from her telling me about the past and the aggression showing, and all the the little subtle things, his family, his daddy put him on the wall, choking him out, all this stuff like that. It was he and all the little arguments they would have on the phone. He was finna try to get on her head, but he was out of his element. But go ahead, I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like it was one of those situations where like it felt like something else was in that house with me.
All right.
You know, like it wasn't just me walking in about to have an argument with somebody that I knew or, whatever. And also, my roommate at the time, she wasn't home, so, we had a way that we like moved in the house, together as two women. And so she wasn't there. And
Yeah.
so, I walk in and all the lights are off, but it was my house. So I knew the layout. So I'm like, boom, light switch here. And I'm turning the lights on and off as I'm walking through the house. And like, for someone, the person just sat in the dark, like pitch black. I don't have a street light. I don't have a night light. There's no alarm clock glowing. Like it was just the pitchest black of the dark that you can think of to have everything. I lived at the end of a street, the bottom of the street.
Yeah.
Like it don't get much darker than this situation where that was so creepy, to think back on it all these years later that somebody could sit in the dark like that. And, you got snipers and stuff that that's what they got to do. But this was on a whole nother level of just
Yeah.
On purpose.
Yeah, it was I feel it was an intimidation thing. I always been brought up like men shouldn't intimidate women like that. If you got a problem, you just have your little argument. Y'all go y'all separate ways or whatever. You don't put your hands on nobody. But that was an intimidation thing. I really do believe that. But I remember thinking that night, I remember telling you to text me or to call me if you weren't okay. I just knew if I had to put everything I own, that it was gonna be some drama that night. And I do think that people fail to realize that God gives blessings, but also the devil gives blessings. Mm-hmm. And I think the devil blessed him that night. Like you can believe whatever you want to, but I believe the devil blessed him that night because he knew that his time was up. Like it was time for me to come around. He knew his time was up, and I'm pretty sure like people like that don't change. So if he with somebody right now, he probably treat him like a piece of shit. Like if you one of these people that I can't listen to cursing, well, you need to go ahead on, hang up, and go find you somewhere, read your little Bible in the corner. But I really do believe like this stuff, people don't just change. People that do stuff like that, the women don't change. So it's probably some other terrible just girl that had been pulled to some little random ass secluded spot and being mistreated. Like these are people that I talked about in the first podcast. But I do think that people forget that the devil do give blessings, and he knew that if it would have got popping, that to be honest with you, I was on go anyways. Like so it was best that it was good that he didn't show any aggression because I already knew what I had planned on doing because I wasn't calling the police. I was going to be the police. And so I already had made my mind up. And for some reason, everything stayed cool that night. But I know for a fact in the black community, if somebody turn those lights off on y'all ladies, don't take your behind in that house because he finna do something to you. So happened, I think in that situation, he was out of his element. But, did any, after that, did you get any calls or something thinking about element? Like, I'm pretty, he probably tried to call you to come back up there, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, like where he from? Because like I talked on the first podcast, they always want to pull you to their elements. Because I won't be surprised. Like people like that, they never change. Like it's something about them, they don't change. If I had to ask anybody on here, do y'all know anybody that, like, let's just say in middle school, high school, maybe high school, that have always cut their hair the same way? And to this day, they may be 30, 40, 50 years old, and their hair is the same way. They kind of creepy, aren't they? Because those, see, it is something about that. Everybody, some women, they like to have their hair curled, they have their hair long. They change it up. Some men, you get gray hair, you want to show it off, or you might go bald. Like I went bald, but I ain't tried to. That junk just ran away. But I went bald. I used to have hair. But for people that always have like the same haircut, do the same things, always try to pull somebody away from everything. Like, and that's one thing about me with any woman I date. I always tell I want her to have her own thing. If you can't go out and get your own money and have your own funds and have your own thing, in case if I want to go away and not be with you no more, I want you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. If you can't do that, you can't be with me. And I make that clear up front. Like if you lazy, you depending on me to do everything, I can't be with you. And it's a lot of guys, and it's some girls, it's very slim with girls, but there's a lot of guys that like to make you pretty much handicapped. So you can depend on them, so they can probably just do you in a kind of way, leave money on the dresser, all kind of strange stuff like that. But I say, so after all this stuff with you, did you try to tell your parents about it, like later on, or?
No, not right away. Like I tried to tell, down, years down the road that, I had been involved in a situation where like I wasn't happy, and that there was things that happened and things that went on, that at that time were really serious.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't well received because I kind of got, the blame was put on me, that it was my fault for not talking. It was my fault for being who I was, as far as like, I've always been like a very private person.
Yeah.
And, that wasn't received that like in the way that I thought it would be received, to need to discuss things, even just as a female, as a daughter, I think we get raised a little differently than sons,
Right.
there is a different standard, and you raise daughters how you want another man to treat your daughter, and same for the sons, like you maybe mom and dad, that stuff, like we grow up, like we talked about in the last podcast, like we grow up and we see relationships from family members and parents, and that, can lead to what we date, or, or what we, kind of be seeking after or whatever,
Right.
And, but yeah, like I tried to have a conversation, years down the road as a more mature adult about everything. Nah, it just wasn't received.
Yeah, I can remember when we first started talking. I told my mom about you. I was like, she white, and she was like, oh, okay. Because that's the crazy thing. Like, it's never been a problem. I don't think out in the open. Well, I know not in the open, whatever. Even if it's in private, I don't really give a shit. But my great grandma, she's white with blue eyes. She used to be at the cookouts and everything. We all having fun. Even if you go to like when my grandma passed, everybody was having a gathering or whatever, and we had white people walking around. We greet them, man, and they welcome. We really don't see color in my family. Like, we just don't. If you happy with that person, you happy with that person. But I remember my mama asking me, I never forget. She said, she white, and I was like, yeah. She said, my parents racist. I said, well, she from up there in Blue Ridge, so probably. And I wasn't sure yet, but I end up, it ended up, things started taking a real crazy turn, because I can remember one time you had to go to the doctor, and you told me that you spoke with someone on the phone. They told you races isn't supposed to mix. And I know they don't want nobody to know about it, but I'm gonna tell everybody about it, because it's somebody that going through that, and it's a terrible thing to hear. And it's Halloween night, and that junk it's scary to some. It's not scary to me because I've been living through it my whole life. And I think, people think you're supposed to just forget they said something like that, or you're supposed to just let it go. But I don't let that stuff go, and it's the same with, like, you have a kid. If your kid is half white, half black, what that mean? Because back in the day, they would consider him to be full black. So, I mean, but I don't know. I don't know who needs to hear this and stuff like that. But one thing you have to understand, like, you have people around you, and I say with anybody, family on here that might be listening, like, don't let your people crash out. If you see they with somebody that they don't need to be with, shoot, my case, somebody should have told me. She was just a little weirdo, a lunatic, kind of, sort of. But in your case, like, that was detrimental to your health. Like, that could have cost you your life. Like, let's just be for real on that. And nobody said anything. And don't sit here and well, nobody said. No, come on, because you got people out here, and let's just be real. It's some people out here that have been assaulted or been mistreated. They're not going to say anything. But you see them down bad, say something to them, help them out. Like, I look at this the celebrity, what's his name? Matthew Perry, the one just passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, he passed away, and you mean to tell me all his friends around him didn't know he had an alcohol problem? Come on, man. Nobody didn't say nothing. So now everybody at the funeral standing over this man, lying over his body about how much they cared and they want to help. Come on, y'all need to help these people while they still alive and help them out. And if you're not, part of the solution, you part of the problem. I know you hear that a lot. And it's one saying I heard a guy say, one thing about it, when you put off a whole lot of sunshine and success, you also cast a lot of shadows. And man, that is a true statement. Because if anybody on here, you think about it, when you were down bad and you ain't had nothing, folks didn't want to deal with you, didn't want to talk to you, laughed and talked about you. But then when you start doing something for yourself, have a good job, nice house, all of a sudden you got people trying to hate on you. What you would like to say to them? Because I'm on a rant right now.
No, I just, like, anybody listening that, I think sometimes people be afraid to say something. Oh, I don't want to ruin a friendship or a family situation or a work friendship or whatever the case might be. But I think, the mindset that I have now is it is better to say my piece, even if that means that I lose a friend or a family member or a work friend, like whoever it is. If I think that, hey, that person's not treating you right, or that's not going, you're different, and things like that. I think that it's, no matter how hard it might be, I gotta stand up for what I think and what I believe. And if I think, you're my friend and something's going on with you, I gotta say something, because nobody said anything to me when, the changes and stuff that I think were pretty noticeable happening. So that way, in case they don't feel like talking, at least I can let them know that I'm ready to listen if they're ready to talk.
Yeah, and I know for a fact that the change was seen in you, because I can remember being in the yard one time and a person said, "Man, you done lost a lot of weight. Your weight look good on you." And this was before any of the crazy stuff, we had to deal with or whatever. But I will remember that. So I'm just like, so where were you when the weight wasn't looking good? Like, why you just didn't say nothing then? And I can remember you told me the one time where it was a situation where that guy was just sitting in the house, and your granddad, rest his soul, that was my boy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he was just sitting in the house, and your parents didn't say nothing. Didn't say nothing to him. And then all of a sudden, when we started talking, everybody wanted to have me under a microscope or whatever. Like, I just found that to be kind of crazy. But then you was told like, well, we knew he was sorry, whatever. I'm like, damn, why y'all just didn't say that a long time ago? You could have saved a lot of headache and a lot of problems. But again, that's a situation where people out here, y'all got to understand, man, y'all got to help each other, because there are people out here, like I said before, there are people out here that are just not good people. I don't give a damn what you tell them to do. You can take them to church with you. You can get them baptized. But as soon as they get out of their baptism water, they still going to be smoking. because that's who they are. And no matter what you say, oh, he a good Christian man, he got Jesus in him. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. We see how yeah, that's not happening. So,
Yeah.
you have to understand that and
Yeah, and I think like too, people don't, need to hear and like talk about it more that, just because somebody who's been negative or somebody who's had that like type of influence energy on you is no longer around, there's sometimes some lingering effects for that.
yeah,
That that energy that they brought into your space is still around for a little while, and it can still affect you. You know, that person was no longer around me, and then one night my dog just peed on me in the middle of the night,
yeah,
and I woke up like, what the heck? Pee all over the bed, pee all over the floor, the dog in the corner shaking like he's scared or he's cold or whatever. Just, it was like the craziest thing I've ever experienced
yeah,
because my dog had been with me for a long time and had never ever had no accident on me or in the house. Like, he was a great, like great house dog, like he
yeah,
didn't do none of that. He used to stay in the house all day while I would work, and we had our night routine. But that, I think that was a lingering effect of like just some negative energy still around me, that there was something, with that bewitching hour that like terrified my dog.
yeah.
And
I remember you text me and told me about that junk, and you was like, man, it was just pee everywhere, and the dog was just shaking, didn't know what to do, and people, oh, maybe he had to use the bathroom. No, this was different. It was different. So y'all have to be aware of the people you bring around you. Be aware of the people, houses you eat at. Just please be aware, like, because man, it's people out here that just not good people. They just not. You know, I don't know how to drill this into like young ladies' head. Guys, we kind of we can survive out here because we have a lot of like physical strength, so we don't have to worry about nobody really doing anything to us, but the police or something. But women, man, it's Halloween. You got guys out here trick or treating, but they ain't tricking for no candy. Like, they going to these parties, drugging these girls. Man, y'all be safe out there. Please be safe. I don't know if you care about being safe, but just be safe for me, because they out there. And I don't know. You like to say something to them before we get out of here?
nah, just take care of your people. Whoever you have in your circle, like, take care of your people, check on your people, check on the quiet ones, check on the loud ones, check on the funny ones, check on the weird ones. Like, just check in with your people. And especially as we head into like the winter months, sometimes holiday time is hard for people. The winter cold dark months is hard for people. And it's a time of year to start checking in on your folks.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Y'all take care of yourself. And again, we here for y'all to talk to us. We love y'all. And if you ain't hear me say I love you, somebody love you. And if you need to talk to somebody, you need to go talk to them. If you done had something happen with you and happen to you, go and talk to somebody. It might not be a preacher. Go see a therapist, because some like Mercer or like different places, they work on a sliding scale. So that means what?
That means it's kind of based on the income that you report is what you'll pay.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if they super top tier, but they better than talking to nobody. So you go and talk to somebody and, get that handled, man, because if you don't, what's going to happen is it's just going to build up inside. And then you're going to become this person that just feel hopeless. And I promise you, there's people out there to take care of that. There's people out there to try to take advantage of you. Sooner you feel hopeless, that's when they pop up. Your phone just start ringing. Hey, what you doing? And they need to be nothing. But see, you're going to think they really there for your, for the good of you, but really they ain't. They there for themselves. So y'all go and take care of yourself, and y'all have a good night. We'll talk to y'all on Wednesday.